Have you ever noticed how quickly the words, "I'm fine," leave your mouth? Someone offers to help you carry something. "I'm fine." Someone asks if you're okay. "I'm fine." Someone sincerely tells you, "You don't have to do this alone." You smile, and politely refuse. But what if those two simple words have never actually meant that you were fine? What if they've been protecting you for years? In the previous video we explored the psychology of the neglected child. But today we're taking the next step. Because childhood doesn't always stay in childhood. Sometimes, it quietly follows us into adulthood, shaping the way we love, trust, work, and even the way we see ourselves. By the end of this video you'll understand why accepting kindness can feel uncomfortable, why asking for help feels almost impossible, and why your brain may still be following survival rules that were written decades ago. And if you're interested in understanding the hidden patterns of the human mind and learning how psychology can help you build a healthier life, consider subscribing to Dark Human Science. There are many more conversations like this waiting for you. Imagine this. You've had an exhausting week. You're overwhelmed, emotionally drained, and carrying far more than anyone realizes. Then someone looks at you and says, "Let me help." For a brief moment, something strange happens inside you. Your chest tightens. Your thoughts speed up. Instead of feeling relieved, you feel uncomfortable, almost guilty. Without even thinking, you answer, "No, it's okay. I've got it." Have you ever wondered why? Most people assume this is confidence, independence, strength. But psychology tells us something different. Sometimes refusing help isn't a personality trait. It's a survival strategy. Many adults who experienced emotional neglect don't consciously decide to become independent. Their nervous system simply learns one painful lesson very early in life. Depending on others doesn't feel safe. Not because people are always unkind, but because somewhere along the way their emotional needs repeatedly went unanswered. Over time the brain adapts. Instead of expecting support, it begins expecting disappointment. And the safest solution becomes simple. I'll handle everything myself. At first this strategy works. You become responsible, reliable, capable. People admire how independent you are. They tell you how strong you seem. But what they don't see is the quiet cost behind that strength. Every time you refuse help, every time you convince yourself that your needs don't matter, every time you carry another invisible burden alone, your brain receives the same message again. Survival means self-reliance. This isn't weakness. It's adaptation. Neuroscience shows that our brains constantly build pathways based on repeated emotional experiences. The more often your nervous system learned that asking for comfort led to disappointment, or simply changed nothing, the more automatic self-protection became. Eventually you stop asking altogether. Not because you don't need people. Because your brain quietly concludes that needing people is dangerous. Maybe you've noticed something else. You rarely tell others when you're struggling. Even the people who genuinely care about you. You minimize your pain. You change the subject. You joke. You say, "Other people have it worse." What? Because somewhere inside, your emotional system still treats vulnerability as a risk instead of a bridge. Attachment psychology describes something called an internal working model. Think of it as an invisible blueprint your mind creates about relationships. It silently answers questions like, can I trust people? Will someone be there if I need them? Am I too much? Do my feelings matter? These beliefs often become so automatic that we mistake them for reality. But they aren't reality. They're predictions. Predictions written by experiences that may no longer reflect your life today. And here's the heartbreaking part. Many adults don't even realize they're exhausted. Because carrying everything alone has become normal. If you've spent years believing your value comes from never needing anyone, rest may actually feel uncomfortable. Receiving care may feel unfamiliar. Even love can feel confusing. Not because you don't want it, but because your nervous system has never learned what safe dependence feels like. And this is where something remarkable begins to happen. Because once you recognize that these behaviors were learned, you can begin asking a completely different question. Not, what's wrong with me? But, what was my mind trying to protect me from? That single question changes everything. Think about the last compliment someone gave you. Maybe they said, "You're incredibly kind." Or, "I don't know how you managed to do so much." Instead of simply saying, "Thank you," what did you do? Did you laugh it off? Did you immediately explain that it wasn't a big deal? Did you point out your own flaws before anyone else could? This reaction surprises many people. If you've spent years believing your worth comes from what you do instead of who you are, genuine appreciation can feel strangely uncomfortable. Your brain isn't rejecting kindness because you don't deserve it. It's rejecting something that doesn't match the story it has believed for years. Psychologists call these core beliefs deep assumptions about ourselves that quietly shape our emotions, relationships, and decisions. When those beliefs sound like, I shouldn't be a burden, I have to earn love, people eventually leave. Your mind starts filtering every interaction through those expectations, even when someone genuinely cares about you. That's why healthy relationships can sometimes feel unfamiliar. Not because they're unhealthy, but because they're different from what your nervous system expects. Have you ever noticed that you can solve everyone else's problems, but struggle to recognize your own needs? People come to you for advice. You listen. You comfort. You support. Yet when you're hurting, you tell yourself, I'll deal with it later. This isn't simply generosity. For many people, taking care of others became a way to stay emotionally safe. If everyone else is okay, no one will notice that you're falling apart. Over time, your own needs become quieter, until one day you realize something unsettling. You don't even know what you want anymore. Not because your desires disappeared, but because you've spent so many years adapting to everyone else that you've lost contact with your own emotional voice. Then comes another feeling that many people never question. Loneliness. Not the loneliness of being physically alone. The loneliness of believing no one could truly understand you. Ironically, some of the most independent people are also the ones who secretly wish someone would simply notice they're struggling, without having to ask. Because asking still feels impossible. Here's the good news. The brain that learned these patterns can also learn new ones. This is where neuroplasticity changes everything. Every time you allow someone to support you, every time you express an honest emotion instead of hiding it, every time you replace self-criticism with self-compassion, you're giving your nervous system new evidence. Evidence that the world today is not exactly the same as the one it learned to survive in years ago. Healing isn't forgetting your past. Healing is helping your brain realize that the danger it prepared for isn't always present anymore. If this message has resonated with you so far, let me know in the comments which part felt most familiar. And if you're enjoying this journey into the psychology of the human mind, don't forget to leave a like. It really helps this channel reach more people who may need these conversations. Maybe you've spent years believing that something inside you was broken. Maybe you've blamed yourself for being distant, for overthinking, for struggling to trust, for always carrying everything alone. But what if those weren't personality flaws at all? What if they were simply intelligent survival strategies that stayed with you long after they were needed? The child you once were did exactly what they had to do. They adapted. They protected themselves. They survived. And that deserves compassion, not shame. But the adult you are today has something that child never had. Just little by little, you can teach your nervous system that asking for help doesn't make you weak. That receiving kindness doesn't create debt. That resting isn't laziness. That your needs matter just as much as anyone else's. Most importantly, you don't have to earn the right to be cared for. You already have it. You survived. Now your nervous system deserves evidence that survival is no longer the only way to live. If this conversation spoke to you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Leave a like if you'd like to see more videos exploring the hidden patterns that shape our minds. And if you're ready to continue this journey of self-understanding, click on the video that's appearing on your screen now. I think it's the perfect next step. I'll see you there.